Okay, hi Year 11, welcome to these videos. Learn about the transformation of functions, that is transformation of graphs. You already know about transformations, you know about translations, rotations, reflections and enlargements, and you can do them to shapes. But what you perhaps don't know is how to do them to graphs and where to see that you can basically find what a graph looks like by considering it as a transformation of another graph, okay? So if I have a look at this one, y equals f of x plus 1. So this is a function y equals f of x, which just basically means we don't know what the equation of the function is, we just know it's a function. And what we're saying is if we just add 1 to it, so, let's say the function was x cubed plus x squared. Well, if I could just add 1 to it. And what will happen to that graph? Well, it basically means that every y value will have 1 added to it for each equivalent x value. So the consequence of that is that the graph will move up by 1, okay? So this will have, this minimum point here will change. It will become minus 3, 11. And this maximum point here will become 6, 21. Sorry, that's wrong. It won't be minus 3, 11. It will be minus 4. It will be minus 4, minus 10, because the x value won't change, but the y value will move up by 1, okay? So we can work out where certain points will be. If this was cutting at 0, 0, this will now be cutting at 0, 1. Every single point has simply moved up by 1. And the same logic can apply for this one. If I just simply take 3 away from the function, okay, I will end up with it moving down by 3. Sorry about that. It will move down by 3. Okay, so this point will become minus 4, minus 14, the minimum, and this maximum will become 6, 17. This point here will become 0, minus 3. Okay, so these ones here result in a translation, a vertical translation. Okay, they will move up and down. Okay, now these ones here, remember, are what we call compound function. Compound function. So what does this mean? This means if the function is y equals x cubed plus x squared, my transformed function is going to be y equals x plus 5 cubed plus x plus 5 squared. Okay, so it's replacing any x with x plus 5. Now, what's the consequence of this? What will happen is it will move. These ones are a horizontal translation. Okay, horizontal translation. So they move left or right. Horizontal translation. They move left or right. But the weird thing about these ones is they move the opposite way of what you think. So because it says f of x plus 5, actually what will happen is it will move to the left 5, not to the right 5. So it will look something like this. Okay, so this point here, this minimum point will be minus 9, minus 11. So this time the x value changes. This will be 1, 20. And this point here will be minus 5, 0. Minus 5, 0. Every point has moved to the left 5. Hasn't moved up or down, it's just moved left. And then also this one, you'd think it would move to the left 2, but it won't. It will move to the right 2. So it will look something like this. Okay, so this point will be minus 2. Sorry, this point will be minus 2, 11. So I've drawn it sort of pretty badly. This point here will be 8, 20. Everything is just simply moved to the right. This will be 2, 0. Okay. Now, what about these other ones? This one here will create a reflection And the reflection will be, it will move up and down. So the reflection is in the x-axis. And what I mean by that is the x-axis is the mirror line. Okay, so what it will look like? It will look like this. Oh, sorry, that's drawn badly. It will look like that. Okay, let's just draw that bit again so we're clear. So that it's a perfect reflection. Okay, and so this point will actually become -4, +11. And this point here will become 6, -20. Okay, so that'll be a reflection in the x-axis, i.e. moving up and down. Okay, and this one here will be a reflection in the y-axis. Okay, so what will it look like? So it's moving side to side, left and right. So what will it be? It will be something like this. Okay, so it's being reflected with the y-axis as the mirror line. Okay, so x values change. So that is to say this point here will become -620. And this point here will become 4 -11. Okay, only the x values change. Okay, so let's summarize all of this. And I'm going to give you a silly, sexist way to remember it. Sexist meaning that not very nice to women. So please bear in mind, it's just a joke. Okay, don't be offended by it. It's just a silly way to help you remember things. Okay, so we've got two types of main groups of transformations, and I say that they are males and they are females. Okay, anything that's outside the bracket is a male. So if we have something like this, y equals f of x plus a, that is a male. Okay, and ones like this, y equals minus f of x, the transformations are outside of the bracket, so they are a male. The ones inside are female, so f of x plus a and f of minus x. Those ones are female. Inside the bracket, female. Outside the bracket, male. Now, why are they males and females? Well, if I ask Miss Holly, if Miss Holly asks me to do something, I will say yes, because you imagine my head moving up and down, okay? I will say yes. So all the movements in a male are up and down. They say yes. Imagine my head bobbing up and down. They say yes. Okay, so what happens with this one is a translation of 0A. So it won't create any movement left or right. It will just create a movement up or down depending on what A is. And this one will be a reflection in the x-axis, so that basically the reflection is moving up and down. Okay, so males move up and down. Now females, if I ask Miss Holly to do something, she will say no, because that's what she does. She's mean to me. She will always say no. So she moves left and right. You can imagine my head bobbing left and right to indicate no. Okay, so this is a translation left and right, but also not only do women always say no, they're crazy. They do the opposite of what you expect all the time. So, you know, if I ask Miss Holly to save some money, she spends all my money. If I ask her to tidy the kitchen, she destroys the kitchen. Some things like that. She always does the opposite of what I expect. So not only does she move left and right, but she does the opposite of what I think. So actually this will create a translation of negative A0. She won't move up and down at all. She'll just move left or right and the opposite way to what you think. Okay, and this will be a reflection. Again, it's female, so we're talking about trying to make it move left to right. So the mirror line will be the y-axis, okay? So if you just remember that stupid, obviously not true stereotype of men and women, to try and help you remember how these work, okay? So let's just have a little look at a couple of examples here. So the solid curve has equation y equals f of x. The equation of the dashed curve could be, well, what could it be? It looks to me like the dashed blue curve is a translation up something. So it's going to be 0a. So it's definitely a man, okay, which means it's either this one or this one or this one, okay, because the movement is up and down, okay, and men have the movements outside of the bracket, so it can't be this one because the movement's inside the bracket. Now, what does it look like's happened to me here? It looks like each of the y values has moved up by 5. So I'm pretty sure that I think this is this one here. Y equals f of x plus 0, creating a translation of 0, 5. Okay. Right, what about this one? The dashed line looks to me like it's a reflection. So if it's a reflection, it's going to either be this one or it's going to be this one. I think the x-line, x-axis, is the mirror line for that reflection. So it's moving up and down, so it's a man, which means it's this one. Okay? Outside the bracket is a man, inside the bracket is a female. What about this one? This one to me looks like it's moved to the right. Okay? So if it's moved to the right, it's got to be a female. So it's not this one, and it's not this one, because it's moved left and right. So it's either A or B. Now, we could say it's moved to the right 3. Women are crazy. They do the opposite of what you expect. So if it's moved to the right 3, it must be x minus 3. Okay, so A is the correct answer. Women always do the opposite of what you expect. Okay? Right, you can stop your video and just have a little go at these ones, and I'll go through the answers. Okay. Right, f of x plus 2 would look something like this. Every single, hang on, have I got the scaling right there? No, I haven't. Let's do it better so that the scaling makes sense. What we know is that this point is moved up to, so that's going to move up to about there. So it's going to be about there, and so I know that this point here is going to be minus 1, minus 2, and this point here is going to be 0, minus 1. Every single point has moved up 2. Okay. The B is going to be moving down 2, so that's going to be something like this. Okay, so this point is going to become minus 1, minus 6. And this point here is moved to 0, minus 5. Everything's just moved down 2. Let's use a different colour actually, so it's less confusing. Y equals f of x minus 2 means it moves to the right 2. So this would be something like this. Just simply moves to the right 2. You'd be able to tell me where those points are. Okay, I won't do D, it's the same thing, that's just moving to the right 3. E, f of x plus 2 means you're going to move to the left 2. So it would be something like this. Okay, for example, you know this point is going to become minus 5, 0, and you know this point here is going to become minus 1, 0. This point here, minus 3, minus 4. And this point here is moved to here. It'll be minus... this will be minus 4, and this will be minus 3, minus 3. Okay? And then the last one, f of x plus 4, is back to being a male one. It will move up 4. Okay, so try to remember that men do what you would expect, but women do the opposite of what you would expect because they're crazy. Okay, what about this one? First one, y equals minus f of x is a man. Okay, so it's going to look something like this. A reflection in the x-axis. Okay, this point here will become -1, +4. Okay. And the second one is a female. So that is going to be a reflection in the y-axis. They move left and right. Women move left and right. So it's going to be something like this. This point here will become this point here. And this point here will become this point here. This point here will become this point here. So it's going to look something like this. A reflection in the x-axis. Okay. So this is going to be -1, 0. This is going to be 1, 4. This point here is going to be 3, 0. All the x values have changed from their negative sign. Okay, gone for the opposite. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Having a look here, the graph of y equals f of x plus 4 is a translation 4 units upwards of the graph y equals f of x. Quentin is wrong. What is the correct transformation? He is wrong. Why? Because this is a female. It's inside the bracket. So it's going to move left or right. And it's a woman, so it will be crazy. It will move the opposite direction to what you think. So this is going to be a translation of 4 to the left. 4 to the left. Okay. Right, little exam style question here. The diagram shows part of the curve y equals sine x. Remember, you need to know what the graphs of sine x, cos x and tan x look like. Okay, if you don't know, revise them. The coordinates of one of the maximum points is labelled A. Write down the coordinates of A. So you should know that that's 90 degrees and that's 1. So the coordinates of A is 91. Okay. Kevin wishes to translate the curve by 5 units in the positive x direction. Write down the equation of the translated curve. So if we're moving it 5 units to the right, whoops, it will be something like this. Okay, so what has happened? Well, if that's y equals f of x, what we've done is we've done y equals f of x minus 5. That's how we translate something to the right by 5. So what I've got to do now is look at my actual curve, y equals sine x. Then my new curve is going to be y equals sine of x minus 5. Replace x with x minus 5. Okay? So that is the equation of my blue curve, which is a translation 5 to the right. Okay, this diagram shows part of the curve y equals f of x. On the grid, sketch the graph of y equals f of minus x. That's a woman, so we're reflecting in the y-axis. Y-axis is my mirror line. So all I've got to do is take this point and move it here. Take this point and move it here. Take this point and move it here. So this is what my graph will look like. It's a reflection in the y-axis. It's a female. It moves left and right. Okay. Right, what about this one? A diagram shows part of the curve y equals f of x. The coordinates of one of the minimum points are -2, -7. The curve is translated so the minimum point is mapped to -2, 0. Write down in terms of f of x the equation of the translated curve. So all we've done is we've moved this point up to here, -2, 0, which means we now look like this. So what's happened? We've moved up 5, it's a man. So my solution is simply that it's y equals f of x plus 5, outside the bracket this time because it's a man. It's very, very simple. Okay, right, that's